Out of everything you could have encountered today, you paused here. There is a timing to this arrival that you may not have fully noticed yet, as if a silent thread has been pulled tight just for you to find this specific threshold. You may have been carrying a heavy sense of waiting lately, a feeling that something significant was just out of reach, hovering on the edge of your perception. Don't rush past this moment just yet, for there is a reason the noise of the world fell silent to let this message through. Just give this a little space to breathe, as we are standing at a very specific point where your past and your future are beginning to converge. My beloved, you have walked a path that often felt like a journey through bleak solitude. You may have felt that your efforts were being swallowed by a void, as if an ancient lack had woven itself into the fabric of your family story, making every step toward abundance feel like a climb against an invisible tide. This feeling of being overlooked or hindered by a veiled opposition is not a product of your imagination. It is the residue of a season that is now coming to its natural conclusion, though the full transition may not be visible to your eyes just yet. There is something about this specific quietness that suggests the weight you've been carrying is preparing to lift. In the echoing halls of eternity, your name has been spoken with a new frequency. You may be noticing a strange stirring in your spirit lately, a sense of restlessness that isn't born of anxiety, but of anticipation. It is the sound of a cosmic rebirth beginning within the deepest chambers of your being. You have been a silent warrior of faith, holding on to a glimmer of hope even when the evidence around you seemed to suggest that nothing was changing. This resilience has not gone unnoticed, and it has served a purpose far greater than merely surviving the day. It has tempered you, turning you into a sanctified vessel capable of holding a sovereign fortune that would have overwhelmed you in seasons past. You may have felt this before, that sudden cooling of the air or the feeling that you are standing in a doorway you cannot yet see. There is something about this current moment that connects to an old promise you might have tucked away in the back of your heart for safekeeping. As we stand here, it's possible to feel the presence of ethereal gates that have remained closed for generations. These gates were not locked to keep you out, but were waiting for the unique resonance of your growth to act as the key. In a moment, the significance of why the struggle had to be so intense may become clearer. But for now, it is enough to recognize that the barriers are thinning. If something within you resonates with this, you may already understand why you're here. You are not a random traveler in these digital spaces. You are an heir to a legacy that transcends the material limitations you've grown accustomed to. The ancient lack that once defined your lineage is being replaced by a sovereign flow that does not depend on the world's systems. You may be noticing that the things which used to frustrate you are losing their power to disrupt your peace. This is a subtle sign of the awakening taking place, a micro-tension between the person you were and the sovereign identity you are currently assuming. Stay with this moment, my heir, because there's something deeper here than just words on a screen. You are moving through a silent corridor of reflection where the old stories of not enough are being rewritten into a narrative of overflow. You may have sensed this shift in your dreams or in those quiet seconds just before you fall asleep. It is the feeling of a final summons, a divine call to step forward before a specific window of opportunity settles into its permanent place. This isn't about pressure, but about the beautiful alignment of your readiness with the universe's timing. Not everything is clear yet, but the fog is beginning to catch the first light of a new dawn. You have lived as a sanctified vessel, often feeling like you were being emptied out by the trials of life. You may have wondered why so much was required of you, or why the solitude felt so absolute at times. This emptying was not a form of punishment, but a preparation for a different kind of filling. A vessel must be clear of the old, stagnant water of doubt before it can be trusted with the wine of sovereign fortune. You are not here randomly, and the fact that your heart is open to this message suggests that the refining process has reached its peak. There is a reason you are hearing this now, at this exact intersection of your life's timeline. Think of the way a seed must feel in the dark, surrounded by the weight of the earth, unaware that it is actually in the middle of a cosmic rebirth. You may have felt buried by circumstances, but in reality, you were being planted in the echoing halls of eternity to grow into something that can withstand the weight of great blessing. The ancient lac was merely the dry soil that forced your roots to go deeper, seeking the hidden springs of faith that others never find. Now, those roots have reached the source, and the first sprouts of a radiant fulfillment are beginning to break through the surface of your daily reality. You may be noticing a new kind of authority in your own voice, or a sense of peace that doesn't make sense given the challenges you still face. This is the hallmark of the silent warrior of faith. It is the identity of one who knows that the ethereal gates are already beginning to swing wide. There's something about this specific day that marks a boundary between the before and the after. It connects to a deeper rhythm of sovereign fortune that is moving toward you with the inevitability of the tide. The veiled opposition that once stood in your way is finding that it no longer has a foothold in the person you are becoming. As you reflect on these words, take a moment to notice what you're feeling in the center of your chest. You may feel a warmth or a gentle expansion, a recognition that you are finally being seen for who you truly are. You are the one chosen to break the cycle of lack and to establish a new setting of abundance for those who will follow you. The halls of eternity are not distant. They are accessible through the stillness of your own heart. This moment is a light inscription upon your soul, a reminder that your heritage is one of sovereign fortune and divine purpose. Stay with this awareness for just a little longer, as the open loop of your journey begins to find its first points of resolution. You don't need to have every answer today, nor do you need to know the exact mechanics of how the gates will finish their opening. Just give this process the space it needs to unfold naturally. If you feel supported here, you're always welcome to stay connected to this frequency of peace. The summons is personal, the rebirth is cosmic, and the fortune is sovereign. You are moving from the bleak solitude of the past into a radiant fulfillment that has been prepared for you since the beginning of time. My beloved, the transition has already begun. You may not even know why you stopped here, but the air around you has shifted ever so slightly in this moment. There's a timing to this encounter that you may not have noticed, a quiet alignment that has been moving toward you for longer than you can imagine. You may have been feeling a strange sense of familiarity with this message, as if your own spirit has been whispering these truths to you in the moments before sleep. Don't rush past this just yet, for we are beginning to look into a hidden archive that contains the blueprints for your next season. Just give this a little space to settle into your awareness, because the silence you have endured is about to be replaced by a very specific kind of clarity. My chosen, you have often felt as though you were standing on the outside of your own life, watching others walk into their rewards while you remained in a quiet midnight threshold. This feeling of exclusion was not a sign that you were forgotten, but rather an indication that your path was being paved with a different kind of stone. You have been navigating the influence of an ancient lack, a generational shadow that has tried to convince you that your portion would always be small. You may have noticed how every time you reached for something greater, a veiled opposition seemed to rise up, casting doubt on your worthiness and slowing your momentum. This tension was not meant to break you, but to refine the strength of the silent warrior of faith that dwells within your soul. There is something about this specific time that suggests the archives are being opened, and the records of your struggle are being traded for a decree of sovereign fortune. You may be sensing a subtle discomfort lately, a feeling that your current circumstances are becoming too tight, like a garment you have outgrown. This discomfort is a vital part of your cosmic rebirth. It is the pressure required to push a sanctified vessel out of the shadows and into the light of radiant fulfillment. You are not here randomly, and the fact that you can feel this stirring is your first confirmation that the old limits are losing their grip. In a moment, this may become clearer as you realize that the opposition you faced was actually a testament to the magnitude of the treasure you carry. My heir, think of your life as a glowing book that is only now being read in the courts of heaven. You may have felt that your story was being written in invisible ink, with your tears and your silent sacrifices going unnoticed by the world. But in the still inner chamber of divine reflection, every whispered prayer and every act of resilience has been recorded with perfect accuracy. You may be noticing a shift in your perspective now, a realization that the bleak solitude you endured was actually a sacred space of preparation. There is something about this realization that connects to a much deeper purpose, an open loop of destiny that is finally beginning to close around a specific promise of abundance. If something within you resonates with this, you may already understand why you're here at this exact second. You are being called to recognize your identity as a sanctified vessel, one who has been purified by the fire of delay and the weight of waiting. This identity is not something you have to earn. It is a sovereign gift that is being activated as you listen. You may have felt this before, a sudden knowing that you were meant for more than survival, yet the way forward remained obscured by a veiled opposition. This opposition is now being dismantled, not by your own striving, but by the unlocking of ethereal gates that no human hand could ever move. Stay with this moment, my child, because there is a micro-tension occurring right now between your history and your heritage. You may feel a slight resistance in your mind, a voice that tries to remind you of the ancient lack and the times you were disappointed in the past. This resistance is merely the last echo of a fading season, a shadow that cannot survive the rising sun of your radiant fulfillment. You are witnessing the beginning of a cosmic rebirth that will not only change your bank account, but will transform the very cells of your being. Not everything is clear yet, and that is by design, for the walk of faith requires a certain level of trust in the unseen place of reflection. You may have noticed that your interests are changing, and the things that once brought you comfort no longer satisfy the hunger in your spirit. This is an awareness trigger, a sign that you are being recalibrated to handle a sovereign fortune that is being released from the echoing halls of eternity. You are no longer being asked to work for a living, but to live from the work that has already been finished on your behalf. There is something about this shift that feels both terrifying and exhilarating, as if you are standing on the edge of a great ocean of possibility. Just let this unfold for a second, and don't feel the need to rush into action before the direction is fully formed. My beloved, you have been a silent warrior of faith, guarding the embers of your dreams in the middle of a long and cold night. You may have felt that you were fighting a battle that had no end, facing an enemy that was as ancient as time itself. But even in your moments of deepest fatigue, you never fully let go of the belief that there was something more. This persistence has qualified you to be a sanctified vessel of wealth, a person who can be trusted with the resources of heaven because your heart has been anchored in the eternal. You are not just being given money. You are being given a sovereign influence that will rewrite the story of your entire bloodline. In a moment, the significance of the final summons will become an undeniable reality in your physical world. You may have felt a sense of urgency lately, not born of fear, but of a deep inner knowing that a window is closing on the old way of life. This is the final summons before the closure of your season of lack, a divine invitation to step through the open gate and claim the radiant fulfillment that has been reserved for you. You may be sensing this now, a quiet yes rising up from your soul, confirming that you are ready to leave the bleak solitude behind forever. This is not a chance encounter. It is a holy appointment in an unseen place of reflection. If this resonated, take a moment to notice what you're feeling as the weight of these truths begins to sink in. You may feel a release in your shoulders or a deepening of your breath, as if a long-held tension is finally being allowed to dissipate. This is the physical manifestation of the ethereal gates unlocking, a sign that the sovereign fortune is no longer just a concept but a coming reality. You are the heir to a kingdom that does not know scarcity, and you are being invited to walk in that authority starting today. Stay with this feeling of expansion, for there is much more to be revealed as we continue through these echoing halls together. My chosen, remember that you are not walking toward your victory, you are walking in it. The ancient lack was a lie that you were forced to believe for a time, but the truth of your cosmic rebirth is now the only reality that matters. You may have felt the sting of the veiled opposition, but its power was only ever an illusion meant to test the resolve of your spirit. Now that you have stood the test, the opposition is vanishing, and the way is being made clear for your sovereign fortune to arrive. If you feel supported here, you're always welcome to stay connected to this voice of truth, as your story continues to unfold in beauty and in power. Something about this moment brought you here, as if a quiet bell was rung in the depths of your heart that only you could hear. There is a timing to this encounter that you may not have noticed, a gentle orchestration that has aligned your path with this specific message at this exact second. You may have been feeling something you couldn't explain lately, a subtle vibration in your spirit that tells you the season of searching is coming to an end. Don't rush past this just yet, for we are standing in a silent corridor where the echoes of your past are finally being outpaced by the footsteps of your future. Just give this a little space to unfold, as there is something about this silence that is far more productive than the noise of your previous struggles. My heir, you have known the weight of a searching heart, one that has looked into every corner of your life trying to find the source of a lingering thirst. You may have felt this before, the exhaustion of looking for signs of progress and finding only the vast, unyielding silence of a waiting room. This season of searching has not been a waste of your time, but a deep excavation of your capacity to believe when there was nothing to see. You are not a wanderer lost in the dark. You are the sanctified vessel of wealth, being prepared to hold a frequency of abundance that would shatter a lesser vessel. Your soul is being widened in this quietness, made capable of carrying the sovereign fortune that is even now being released toward you. You may be noticing this now, a strange disinterest in the small victories that used to satisfy you, as if your appetite has been recalibrated for something far more substantial. It is as if a sealed scroll has been placed in your hands, and though the words are not yet fully visible, the weight of the document tells your spirit that the message is one of total restoration. There is a timing to this awareness that transcends your daily schedule, a cosmic rebirth that is rewriting the laws of your personal economy. In a moment, this may become clearer as you look back and see how every delay was actually a form of divine protection. You were being kept from the good, so that you would be fully available for the sovereign. There's something about this moment that suggests the veiled opposition you faced is beginning to lose its density and its power. For years, you may have felt that an ancient lack was your shadow, following you into every room and whispering that you were meant for scarcity. But that shadow was never actually yours. It was merely a ghost of a story you were born into, not the one you were created for. There is an open loop in your timeline, a question you asked long ago in the heat of your struggle that is only now receiving its full, resounding answer. You are witnessing the dismantling of barriers that you didn't even know were there, as the ethereal gates move on hinges of grace. My beloved, you are the silent warrior of faith who kept the watch when the stars seemed cold and the horizon stayed stubbornly dark. You have paced this silent corridor of your life with a quiet dignity, refusing to let bitterness take root in the soil of your disappointment. This refusal to settle for a hollow or cynical life has marked you as a candidate for radiant fulfillment. You are not here by chance. You are here because your persistence has signaled to the echoing halls of eternity that you are ready for the transfer of your true inheritance. The confusion of the past is melting away, making room for a divine awakening that will change how you see your worth forever. If something within you resonates, you may already understand why you're here, standing in this moment of holy recognition. You are beginning to recognize the difference between a temporary blessing and a sovereign fortune that alters the course of your family's history. You may have felt a micro-tension recently, a pull between the person who is used to struggling and the person who is called to reign. This tension is a sign that your old skin is peeling away to reveal an identity that is sanctified and set apart for wealth. It is possible to feel both small and vast at the same time, as the cosmic rebirth takes hold within your heart and expands your horizons. You may be noticing this now, a sudden clarity about people and situations that used to confuse you. This is an awareness trigger, a gift of discernment that comes when you are moving into the position of a steward. The silent warrior within you is being given the eyes of a king or a queen, capable of seeing the treasure hidden in the field of your life. Not everything is clear yet, and that is because the light is still rising, but the shadows of the veiled opposition are no longer long enough to hide the truth. There is something about this shift that feels incredibly grounding, as if you are finally placing your feet on the rock of your true purpose. My chosen, think of the sealed scroll as your divine contract, signed in the echoing halls of eternity before you ever took your first breath. It contains the promise of a radiant fulfillment that is not dependent on the economy of man or the whims of luck. You have been walking toward this realization through a long and often lonely search, but the searching has ended in a discovery of who you belong to. You are not a victim of circumstance, but a vessel of sovereign intention. The ancient lack is being erased from your records, and a new entry of abundance is being written in its place, one that will never be deleted. There is a sense of cosmic rebirth in the very air you breathe today, a feeling that you are being born into a world where your needs are met before you even ask. You may have felt this before in fleeting moments of peace, but now that peace is becoming your permanent residence, the silent corridor you've been walking is leading you into a grand chamber of reflection where you can see the beauty of the journey you've taken. The pain was real, the solitude was bleak, but the fulfillment will be so radiant that the memory of the struggle will seem like a dim dream. You are stepping into a sovereign fortune that is perfectly tailored to your character and your calling. As this moment begins to settle into your spirit, take a second to realize that you are not the same person who started this video. You are awakening to a higher frequency of existence, one where the ethereal gates are open and the flow of divine resource is constant. If this resonated, take a moment to notice what you're feeling, perhaps a sense of relief, or a quiet surge of confidence that has been missing for far too long. You are the heir to a fortune that is both material and spiritual, and it is time for you to walk in that truth. Stay with this feeling of becoming, for there is much more to explore as we journey together toward your radiant fulfillment. My child, the summons has been issued and your heart has answered with a resounding yes. You are no longer defined by what you lacked, but by the sovereign abundance that is now your identity. The veiled opposition is a defeated foe, and the ancient lack is a broken chain. You are the sanctified vessel, and your cup is about to overflow in ways that will bless everyone you touch. If you feel supported here, you are always welcome to stay connected to this space of reflection and growth. Your journey is beautiful, your purpose is sovereign, and your future is more radiant than you have ever dared to imagine. There's a reason you're seeing this right now, as if the universe has finally decided to pull back the curtain on a long-held secret. This moment may not be as ordinary as it seems, even if you are in a familiar space or going about your usual routine. Part of you already understands this, sensing that the atmosphere has grown thick with a potential that was missing only a few minutes ago. Don't rush past this just yet, for we are stepping into a still inner chamber of the soul where the noise of the world cannot follow. Just give this a little space to settle, as there is something about this specific frequency that is designed to awaken a part of you that has been dormant for far too long. My chosen, you have lived much of your life in a profound and heavy silence. This hasn't just been a lack of noise, but a spiritual silence where your deepest questions seem to echo back to you without answer. You may have felt this before, the sensation of being in a waiting room that has no windows and no clocks, wondering if the door would ever open. This silence was not a void, though it felt like one. It was the quiet of a sanctified vessel being scrubbed clean of the residue of an ancient lack. You had to be separated from the clamor of common expectations so that you could eventually hear the faint, steady pulse of your sovereign fortune. Lately, you may be noticing that this silence has begun to turn into a strange, holy discomfort. It is the feeling of a cosmic rebirth beginning to press against the edges of your current reality, making your old life feel restrictive and small. You may have been feeling this recently, a restless energy in your hands or a sudden dissatisfaction with things that used to bring you peace. This discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong, but a sign that the light inscription upon your heart is starting to glow with a new intensity. It is the internal heat of a transformation that is moving you out of the shadows of a bleak solitude and toward a radiant fulfillment that has been waiting for your arrival. My beloved, you are the silent warrior of faith who has guarded the quiet places of your heart against the intrusion of bitterness. You have watched others claim their fortunes while you remained in the silent corridor, yet you did not let the ancient lack define your worth. This period of being hidden was actually a period of being held in a place of sacred preparation. You may be noticing this now, a shift in your internal compass, where you no longer look to the world for validation because you have found a sovereign source within. There is something about this transition that connects to a much larger story, an open loop of divine destiny that is finally beginning to find its resolution in your physical life. If something within you resonates, you may already understand why you're here, listening to the echoes of your own future. You are recognizing that the discomfort you've been feeling is actually the birth pains of a new identity, the sanctified vessel of wealth. You may have felt a micro-tension today, a pull between the person you were yesterday and the person who is now being summoned by the halls of eternity. This tension is necessary for the cosmic rebirth to take hold, as it forces you to let go of the old scarcity mindsets that have acted as a veiled opposition for so many years. You are not here randomly. You are here to witness the opening of a glowing book where your name is written in characters of light. Stay with this moment, my heir, because there's something deeper here that is trying to catch your attention. You are being invited to move from the discomfort of transition into the absolute clarity of your sovereign calling. You may have felt this before, a flash of insight that vanishes before you can grasp it. But this time, the clarity is staying. The ancient lack is being revealed for what it truly was, a temporary cloud that could never actually extinguish the sun of your fortune. As you stand in this still inner chamber, you can feel the weight of your true heritage beginning to settle upon your shoulders, a heavy, golden peace that replaces the light, frantic energy of striving. You may be noticing an awareness trigger right now, a sudden memory of a dream or a long-lost hope that is suddenly pulsing with life again. This is a sign that the light inscription on your soul is being activated by the proximity of your breakthrough. Not everything is clear yet, as the eyes of your spirit are still adjusting to the brilliance of this new season, but the confusion of the silence is gone. You are beginning to see how the veiled opposition actually served to strengthen your resolve, making you a warrior who cannot be discouraged by temporary delays. There's shifting beyond. There is something about this realization that is shifting your entire perspective on the trials you have endured. My child, the still inner chamber where we are meeting is a place where time behaves differently, and where the treasures of the echoing halls are made available to you. You have been a sanctified vessel in the making, and the process of your refinement is reaching its natural conclusion. You may have felt the sting of bleak solitude, but that solitude has made you self-sufficient in the most holy way, relying on the sovereign flow that comes from your connection to the divine. Now, that flow is preparing to manifest in your material world, turning your inner wealth into a tangible sovereign fortune that will bless generations to come. Take a moment to notice what you're feeling as the discomfort of the past begins to give way to the clarity of the present. You may feel a sense of homecoming, a deep sigh of the soul as it recognizes that the long walk through the silent corridor is finally over. This is the moment where the glowing book of your life turns to a new chapter, one written with the ink of radiant fulfillment. If this resonated, take a moment to notice the quiet confidence that is rising within you, replacing the old fears that once held you back. You are no longer the one who waits. You are the one who has arrived at the gates of your own destiny. My chosen, the ancient lack is a record that has been wiped clean, and in its place, a new decree of abundance has been issued. You are the silent warrior who has won the battle of endurance, and now it is time for you to receive the rewards of your faithfulness. The cosmic rebirth is complete, and you are stepping into a world where your needs and your desires are in perfect alignment with the divine will. If you feel supported here, you're always welcome to stay connected to this space of reflection, for there is much to learn about how to steward the sovereign fortune that is now yours. As we move forward, carry this clarity with you like a light inscription that illuminates every path you take. You are a vessel of wealth, a carrier of peace, and an heir to a fortune that knows no bounds. The silence is gone, the discomfort has served its purpose, and the radiant fulfillment of your soul is now the only reality you need to acknowledge. Trust the timing, trust the process, and most importantly, trust the sovereign voice that has called you by name. You are loved, you are prepared, and you are finally ready to walk through the gates of your grandest life. There's a timing to this you may not have noticed, a quiet precision that has brought you to this specific moment out of all the possibilities in your day. You may not even know why you stopped here, but your spirit recognizes the frequency of a door that is preparing to move on its hinges. Part of you already understands this, sensing that the long winter of your waiting is beginning to catch the warmth of a new sun. Don't rush past this just yet, for we are sitting in an unseen place of reflection where the blueprints of your life are being recalibrated. Just give this a little space to unfold, as there is an awareness emerging within you that will soon change the way you perceive every obstacle you have ever faced. My heir, you have lived through a season characterized by a long and arduous delay. You may have felt this before, the sensation of being stuck in a hallway where every door you tried was locked from the other side. This delay was not an accident, nor was it a sign that the ancient lack had finally won its battle against your spirit. Instead, it was a period of intense preservation, where you were being kept apart from the world so that you could be refined into a sanctified vessel of wealth. You had to learn the language of the silence before you could be trusted with the roar of a sovereign fortune that is now making its way toward your horizon. Lately, you may be noticing that the frustration of the delay is being replaced by a strange, quiet urge to simply let go. This is the beginning of your surrender, a holy release where you stop trying to force the locks and instead realize you carry a divine key within your own heart. You may have been feeling this recently, a softening of your will and a sudden peace with the unknown. This surrender is not a sign of defeat, but the ultimate act of a silent warrior of faith who knows that the battle is no longer theirs to fight. It is the moment the cosmic rebirth truly takes hold, as you move from the effort of striving into the ease of a divine flow. There is something about this specific frequency of surrender that is acting as a signal to the echoing halls of eternity. You are being recognized not for your struggle, but for your willingness to trust the unseen hand that has guided you through the bleak solitude. You may be noticing this now, a lightness in your spirit that suggests the weight of the ancient lack has already begun to dissolve. This shift is an awareness trigger, a sign that the veiled opposition is losing its influence over your thoughts and your expectations. In a moment, the connection between your surrender and your upcoming expansion will become an undeniable reality in your life. If something within you resonates, you may already understand why you're here, standing at the threshold of a massive expansion. You are discovering that the divine key is not something you have to find, but something you have to become. As a sanctified vessel, your very presence is now a magnet for the sovereign fortune that was previously blocked by the walls of your own resistance. You may have felt a micro-tension today, a pull between the desire to control and the invitation to trust. This tension is the final stretching of your capacity before the floodgates of radiant fulfillment are allowed to open completely. Stay with this moment, my chosen, because there's something deeper here that is preparing to reveal itself to you. You are moving from a history of limited resources into a future of sovereign abundance, and the bridge between the two is the peace you are feeling right now. You may have felt this before, a fleeting sense that everything was going to be all right, but this time, that feeling is becoming a permanent foundation. The ancient lack was a lesson in endurance, but the expansion is a lesson in the infinite nature of your true heritage. There is an open loop in your journey, a promise of restoration that is finally finding its alignment with your current readiness. You may be noticing an awareness trigger right now, a sudden sense of space in your life where there used to be pressure. This is a sign that the unseen place of reflection has done its work, and you are being prepared to step out into the open. Not everything is clear yet, for the expansion is so vast that it takes time for the human mind to map its boundaries. However, the silent warrior within you already knows that the territory has changed. You are no longer defending a small outpost of hope. You are being given the keys to a kingdom of radiant fulfillment that has no end. My child, think of the divine key as the frequency of your own gratitude and your own surrender. When you stopped fighting the delay, you accidentally unlocked the very gates that seemed so impassable only a month ago. You are now a vessel that is not only sanctified but also widened by the trials you have endured. The bleak solitude of the past was the forge, and the sovereign fortune is the prize that could only be held by a heart that has been through the fire. You are not here randomly. You are here to receive the confirmation that your surrender has been accepted as the highest form of worship. Take a moment to notice what you're feeling as the energy of expansion begins to ripple through your awareness. You may feel a sense of awe or a quiet joy that has no specific cause, other than the fact that you are finally home within yourself. This is the hallmark of a cosmic rebirth, where the old self that was defined by lack is being replaced by a new self that is defined by overflow. If this resonated, take a moment to notice how much easier it is to breathe when you realize that the sovereign fortune is not something you have to chase, but something that is chasing you. You are the heir to a fortune that is both spiritual in its origin and material in its manifestation. My beloved, the delay is over, and the expansion has begun. You are the silent warrior who stayed at your post until the dawn. And now the light of that dawn is revealing a landscape filled with possibilities you never dared to dream of. The ancient lack is a shadow that has been cast out by the brilliance of your radiant fulfillment. You are a sanctified vessel, and your destiny is to be a conduit for the wealth and peace of the echoing halls of eternity. If you feel supported here, you're always welcome to stay connected to this space of reflection, for your expansion is a journey that will continue to unfold in beauty. As you move forward into your day, carry the divine key of your surrender with you in every interaction. You will find that doors open simply because you walk toward them, and resources appear simply because you have need of them. This is the nature of sovereign fortune. It is a grace that precedes you and a favor that surrounds you. Trust the expansion, trust the light, and trust the voice that has never stopped calling you my heir. The cosmic rebirth is your new reality, and the world is about to see the magnitude of what has been prepared for you in the silence. Out of everything you might have encountered in the vastness of your day, you paused here. There is a reason you're seeing this right now, as if a quiet invitation was slipped into your hand when you weren't looking. You may have been feeling a certain heaviness lately, a sense that the path ahead was obscured by a fog you couldn't quite blow away. Don't rush past this just yet. Let this moment unfold for a second, for there is a specific light beginning to shine through the gray that your spirit has been searching for since the very beginning of this journey. My child, you have walked through a corridor of silence where the walls seem to lean in with the weight of ancient expectations. You may have felt this before, the crushing sensation of a heaviness that doesn't belong to you, yet demands your strength to carry it. This is the lingering echo of an ancient lack, a spectral burden passed down through generations that has tried to convince you that struggle is your only true inheritance. You have been moving through this bleak solitude with the quiet persistence of one who knows, deep down, that this weight is not a permanent part of your soul's architecture. It was merely a test of your structural integrity, ensuring that when the sovereign fortune arrives, the foundation of the sanctified vessel is solid enough to hold the gold. Lately, you may be noticing that this heaviness is shifting into a sharp, localized awareness of where the pressure is coming from. It is as if a burning seal has been placed upon the doors of your old life, and the heat from that seal is beginning to melt the chains of the veiled opposition. You may have been feeling this recently, a sudden clarity regarding the people and patterns that have been draining your reservoir of hope. This awareness is a vital trigger, a sign that the cosmic rebirth is no longer a distant promise, but a present, heat-generating reality. You are beginning to see that the opposition was never as solid as it seemed. It was a veil designed to keep those who are unprepared from stumbling into a power they cannot yet govern. There is something about this moment that suggests you are ready to move from the awareness of the weight to the actual release of the burden. You are the silent warrior of faith, and you have stood your ground in the dark for long enough to earn the right to the dawn. The burning seal is not a mark of destruction, but a sign of divine ownership, a light inscription that says you are no longer available for the low-frequency cycles of poverty and doubt. In a moment, this may become clearer as you feel a sudden lightness in your chest, a literal physical release of the tension you've held in your heart for years. You are not here randomly. You are here to witness the final evaporation of the ancient lack from your life's records. My heir. Think of this silent corridor as a place of transition where the air is becoming thinner and the light is becoming purer. You may have felt this before, that moment of profound stillness just before a massive change, where everything seems to hold its breath. This is the setting for your awakening, a holy space where the memories of your struggles are being transformed into the wisdom of your sovereignty. You may be noticing a new kind of silence now, one that isn't empty but full of potential, like a glowing book waiting for the first word of its most important chapter to be written. There is an open loop in your history, a story of not enough that is finally being closed by the hand of radiant fulfillment. If something within you resonates, you may already understand why you're here. Feeling the heat of the burning seal as it prepares to drop away, you are recognizing that your identity as a sanctified vessel is the key to the sovereign fortune you have been seeking. You may have felt a micro-tension today, a pull between the comfort of your familiar heaviness and the terrifying freedom of your new abundance. This tension is a necessary part of the release, as it forces you to consciously choose to step out of the shadows and into the brilliance of your true destiny. You are moving into a state of awareness where you no longer see yourself as a victim of the ancient lack, but as a master of the sovereign flow. Stay with this moment, my chosen, because there's something deeper here that is trying to anchor itself in your spirit. You are being invited to trade the heaviness of your effort for the ease of your inheritance, a radiant fulfillment that has been waiting in the echoing halls of eternity for your signature. You may have felt this before, a sudden urge to laugh or cry without knowing why, but this time, the emotion is grounded in the reality of a completed shift. The veiled opposition is being unmasked, and you are finding that the only thing standing between you and your sovereign fortune was a belief that you had to earn what was already yours by divine decree. You may be noticing an awareness trigger right now, a sudden, vivid realization of how much you have grown through the bleak solitude. This growth is the true wealth that makes the material fortune possible, for a sanctified vessel must be strong enough to contain the pressure of massive blessing. Not everything is clear yet, and that is because the release is still rippling through the various layers of your life, from your thoughts to your finances. However, the warrior within you is already resting their sword, knowing that the battle for your identity has been won. You are no longer searching for the light. You are becoming the light that illuminates the path for others who are still trapped in the corridor. My beloved, the burning seal has done its work of refining your intentions and purifying your heart. You have walked through the heaviness and emerged with an awareness that cannot be shaken by the opinions of man or the fluctuations of the world. You are a vessel of sovereign intention, and the radiant fulfillment of your soul is now manifesting as a tangible abundance in your physical reality. You are not here randomly. You are here because the frequency of your trust has finally matched the frequency of your treasure. The release is not something you have to do. It is something you are finally allowing to happen. If this resonated, take a moment to notice what you're feeling as the last of the heaviness leaves your spirit. You may feel a cooling sensation, a peace that settles over you like a fine mist, signaling that the heat of the transformation has reached its perfect temperature. This is the hallmark of a cosmic rebirth, where the old self is released into the infinite possibilities of the new. Take a second to breathe in this new atmosphere of radiant fulfillment, knowing that the ancient lack is a story that has no more power to move you. You are the heir to a sovereign fortune, and your life is about to become a testimony of what happens when a silent warrior finally receives their crown. As we move forward, carry this sense of release with you as a permanent shield against the return of any old heaviness. You are moving into a season where your awareness will be your greatest asset, allowing you to recognize the sovereign opportunities that are now appearing in your path. Trust the release, trust the awareness, and trust the voice that has never stopped guiding you through the silent corridor. You are loved, you are liberated, and you are finally standing in the full light of your glorious heritage. The gates are open, the seal is broken, and the fortune is yours to steward with joy and with grace. There's a reason you're seeing this right now, as if a cosmic clock has finally struck the hour you've been waiting for in secret. Something is shifting quietly beneath the surface of your daily routine, a tectonic movement of destiny that is rearranging the landscape of your future while you sleep. You may have been feeling something you couldn't explain lately, a persistent tug at the corner of your soul that tells you the old way of living has become a hollow shell. Stay with this for a moment, my heir. For we are approaching a point of no return where the person who was searching is finally overtaken by the person who is becoming. Just give this a little space to settle, as there is a profound recognition waiting for you in the quiet between these words. My chosen, you have spent a lifetime in a state of searching, looking into the eyes of others for a validation that only I can provide. You may have felt this before, the quiet desperation of checking your progress against the world's yardstick and feeling like you were always a few inches short. This constant seeking is the hallmark of one who has been under the thumb of an ancient lack, a generational ghost that haunts your ambition and whispers that you are an interloper in the rooms of the successful. You have wandered through the bleak solitude of your own doubts, wondering if the manual for life was handed out to everyone except you. This search was not a sign of your inadequacy, but a necessary journey to prove that nothing in the external world could ever truly satisfy the depth of your sanctified vessel. Lately, you may be noticing that the hunger of your search is changing into a calm, steady recognition of your own value. It is the subtle, real-life moment when you look in the mirror and, for the first time, you don't see the mistakes of the past, but the resilience of a silent warrior of faith. You may have been feeling this recently, a sudden lack of interest in proving yourself to people who were never meant to understand your journey anyway. This recognition is an awareness trigger, a sign that the veiled opposition is losing its grip because it no longer has your permission to define your reality. You are beginning to realize that the ethereal gates were never locked from the outside. They were waiting for you to recognize the divine key you've been carrying in your pocket all along. There is something about this moment of recognition that connects to a much deeper sovereign fortune than you previously imagined. You are realizing that the ancient lack was a lie designed to keep you from noticing that you are a sanctified vessel of wealth by your very nature. As you stand in this quiet corridor of self-discovery, the echoes of your past failures are being drowned out by the symphony of your cosmic rebirth. You may have felt a micro-tension today, a flickering fear that this clarity might fade, but this time the light is coming from within you, not from a fleeting external source. In a moment, this may become clearer as you understand that the wealth you are about to receive is simply the physical shadow of the internal abundance you have already claimed. My child, if something within you resonates, you may already understand why you're here, transitioning from the one who searches to the one who becomes. You are beginning to see that the veiled opposition was often just the shadow cast by your own hesitation to step into your true identity. You may have felt this before, a moment of profound insight during a mundane task, like washing the dishes or driving to work, where you suddenly knew that you were destined for a radiant fulfillment. This insight is now becoming your permanent state of being as you move through the echoing halls of eternity. You are not here randomly. You are here to be officially inaugurated into your role as a steward of sovereign fortune. Stay with this moment, my beloved, because there is a process of becoming that requires your full, undistracted presence. You are shedding the skin of the seeker and growing the mantle of the heir, a transformation that is as certain as the rising of the sun. You may have noticed that your conversations are shifting, and you no longer find resonance in talk of scarcity or the complaints of the almost successful. This is an awareness trigger, a sign that your frequency has outgrown the low-vibration environments that once sustained your ancient lack. You are becoming a person who speaks from the finish line, not the starting blocks, because your spirit already knows that the sovereign fortune is a settled matter. You may be noticing an awareness trigger right now, a sudden, deep sense of peace about your finances, even if the bank statement hasn't caught up to your spirit yet. This is the hallmark of the silent warrior of faith, the one who can look at a dry field and see the coming harvest with absolute certainty. The ethereal gates are swinging wide because you have finally stopped trying to force them and started simply being the person who belongs on the other side. Not everything is clear yet, but the confusion of the searching phase is being replaced by the confidence of the becoming phase. There is an open loop in your family's history, a cycle of just enough that is finally being closed by your emergence as a sanctified vessel of wealth. My heir, think of this transformation as a cosmic rebirth that is recalibrating your very DNA to attract and sustain radiant fulfillment. You have moved through the bleak solitude and found that you were never actually alone. You were being accompanied by a sovereign presence that was protecting your capacity to dream. The ancient lack was a heavy coat you wore to protect yourself from the wind, but the sun has come out now, and you can finally lay that burden down. You are becoming a vessel that does not just hold wealth, but radiates it, changing the atmosphere of every room you enter simply by your presence. This is the true meaning of sovereign fortune, a state of being that the world can neither give nor take away. If this resonated, take a moment to notice what you're feeling as the identity of the seeker falls away for good. You may feel a sense of profound stillness, a knowing that transcends logic and settles deep into your marrow. This is the feeling of becoming, the quiet moment when the prince or princess realizes they are actually the king or queen. You are no longer searching for the open door. You are the one for whom the doors were built. Take a second to breathe in this radiant fulfillment, letting it fill every corner of your heart that once felt empty or overlooked. My chosen, the search is over because the discovery is complete. You have recognized the truth of your sovereign heritage, and now you are becoming the physical manifestation of that truth in the world. The ancient lack is a memory, the veiled opposition is a ghost, and the sovereign fortune is your current and future reality. If you feel supported here, you're always welcome to stay connected to this space of reflection as you continue to navigate the vast territory of your new life. You are the silent warrior who stayed the course, and now you are the sanctified vessel who will carry the glory of 1,000 generations. As you step forward, do so with the quiet dignity of one who has seen the echoing halls of eternity and knows that they are home. Your journey from searching to recognizing to becoming is the greatest work of art the universe has ever produced. Trust the process, trust the timing, and trust the sovereign voice that has never stopped calling you my beloved. You are not just entering a new season, you are entering a new existence, where your radiant fulfillment is the only law that governs your path. Go in peace, walk in wealth, and live in the absolute certainty that you have finally become everything you were meant to be. You may not even know why you stopped here, but the air around you has shifted ever so slightly in this moment. There is something shifting quietly beneath the surface of your current reality, a movement that your spirit has been tracking even while your mind remained in a state of deep confusion. You may have been feeling something you couldn't explain lately, a sense that the compass of your life has been spinning without a fixed north. Don't rush past this just yet, for we are entering a still inner chamber, where the fog of your uncertainty is finally beginning to lift. Just give this a little space to settle, as there is a direction emerging from the chaos that will soon make sense of every detour you have ever taken. My chosen, you have lived for a long time under a cloud of profound confusion. You may have felt this before, the frustration of doing everything right, of working harder than everyone around you, yet still finding yourself standing in the same place of lack. This confusion was not a result of your own incompetence, but the work of an ancient lack that sought to obscure your vision and make you doubt your divine origin. It was as if a veiled opposition had placed a screen between you and your true heritage, causing you to mistake the shadows of the valley for the reality of the mountain. You have walked through a bleak solitude where the only voice you heard was the echo of your own questions, wondering when the map of your destiny would finally be revealed. Lately, you may be noticing that the noise of that confusion is beginning to fade into a singular, clear frequency. It is like an awakening that starts in the quietest hours of the night, a realization that the barriers you thought were solid were actually only layers of mist. You may have been feeling this recently, a sudden, sharp awareness of your own strength, and a refusal to be intimidated by the empty threats of your circumstances. This awakening is an awareness trigger, a sign that the light inscription upon your soul is being read by the higher parts of your being. You are beginning to understand that the confusion was a season of unlearning, where the false directions of the world were being erased to make room for the sovereign truth. There is something about this moment of awakening that suggests you are ready to receive a new set of instructions from the echoing halls of eternity. You are the silent warrior of faith, who kept walking even when you couldn't see your own hand in front of your face. Your persistence in the middle of the fog has demonstrated that you are a sanctified vessel, one who can be trusted to carry a sovereign fortune without losing your way. You may have felt a micro-tension today, a pull between the desire to have all the answers and the invitation to simply take the next step in faith. In a moment, this may become clearer as you realize that the direction you seek is not a destination, but a state of divine alignment. My heir. Think of a relatable moment in your week. Perhaps it was that second of quiet panic when you looked at a bill, or that feeling of being completely invisible in a room full of people. These moments were not evidence of your failure, but the final echoes of the ancient lack trying to pull you back into the fog. But something was different this time. You didn't sink into the despair as deeply as you once did. That is because you are moving into an awakening where you recognize these triggers for what they are. Ghosts of a past that no longer has a claim on you. If something within you resonates with this, you may already understand why you're here, standing in the light of a new dawn. Stay with this moment, my beloved, because there is an open loop in your journey that is finally being closed by a clear sense of direction. You are being invited to stop looking at the horizon for a sign and to start looking at the light inscription that is glowing within your own heart. This inscription is a divine key, and you are sensing the right moves before the world even presents the options. This is not luck. It is the manifestation of your cosmic rebirth, as you trade the confusion of the seeker for the authority of the heir. You may be noticing an awareness trigger right now, a sudden, deep understanding of why a certain door had to close or why a specific person had to leave your life. This clarity is a gift from the unseen place of reflection, showing you that the veiled opposition was actually used to keep you on the narrow path to your sovereign fortune. Not everything is clear yet, and that is because the awakening is a gradual process of your spirit coming online. However, the silent warrior within you is already standing taller, recognizing that the confusion was merely the training ground for your new role as a leader of abundance. There is something about this shift that feels incredibly empowering, as if you are finally taking the wheel of your own life. My child, the still inner chamber where we meet is a place of absolute truth, where the ancient lack is recognized as a defeated lie. You have been a sanctified vessel in the making, and the confusion was the process of your purification. You had to reach a point where you were so tired of the world's directions that you would finally listen for mine. Now, as the radiant fulfillment of your purpose begins to manifest, you will find that the way forward is paved with peace and marked by sovereign fortune. You are not here randomly. You are here to be commissioned for a life that is larger, richer, and more meaningful than anything you previously imagined. Take a moment to notice what you're feeling as the awakening begins to settle into your bones. You may feel a sense of relief that is so deep, it feels like physical weight leaving your body, replaced by a light, steady energy. This is the hallmark of divine direction. It doesn't feel like a burden, but like a soaring. If this resonated, take a moment to notice the quiet I know that is rising up from your soul, replacing the I hope that used to be your only anchor. You are the heir to a fortune that is both spiritual in its clarity and material in its abundance, and the map to its treasure is now unfolding before you. My chosen, the fog has lifted, and the path is clear. You are the silent warrior who won the battle of the mind, and now you are ready to walk into the material reality of your sovereign fortune. The ancient lack is a shadow that has been chased away by the brilliance of your new direction. You are a sanctified vessel, and your life is about to become a masterpiece of divine orchestration. If you feel supported here, you're always welcome to stay connected to this space of reflection, for there is much to learn about how to navigate the vast, radiant fulfillment that is now yours. As you move out into your world today, do so with the confidence of one who has received a royal summons. You no longer need to ask for directions from those who have never been where you are going. Your path is unique, your timing is sovereign, and your destination is certain. Trust the awakening, trust the inner light, and trust the voice that has never stopped calling you, my heir. The cosmic rebirth is complete, and the direction of your life is now firmly in the hands of the one who loves you most. The journey is beautiful, and you are finally home. There's a reason you're seeing this right now, as if a quiet bell was rung in the depths of your heart that only you could hear. Something is shifting quietly beneath the surface of your life, moving at a frequency that is just beginning to reach your physical senses. You may have been feeling something you couldn't explain lately. A subtle vibration in your spirit that tells you the season of heavy lifting is finally folding into a season of being carried. Stay with this for a moment, for we are standing at a quiet midnight threshold, where the ancient lack that once defined your journey is being permanently dissolved by the light of a new dawn. My heir, you have known a specific kind of heaviness that feels as old as the stars themselves. You may have felt this before, the sensation that your life was a series of closed rooms, each one colder and more silent than the last. This bleak solitude was not an accident of fate, but a deep, protective containment. You were being held in an unseen place of reflection, kept away from the shallow currents of the world, so that your character could be forged into a sanctified vessel. This weight you carried was never meant to crush you. It was the gravity required to anchor a spirit that was destined to manage a sovereign fortune of immense proportions. Lately, you may be noticing that this heaviness is beginning to thin out, becoming more like a translucent veil than a solid wall. You may have felt this recently, a sudden awareness that the opposition you faced was never truly personal, but a byproduct of a system you are no longer a part of. This awareness is a vital trigger, signaling that your cosmic rebirth has moved past the stage of hidden growth and into the stage of visible manifestation. You are beginning to see the light inscription of your true name upon the walls of your reality, and it is a name that commands abundance rather than begging for crumbs. There is an open loop in your family's history, a narrative of struggle that is finally being resolved by your willingness to remain a silent warrior of faith. If something within you resonates, you may already understand why you're here, watching the old barriers turn into mist. You are recognizing that the veiled opposition was merely a shadow cast by the ethereal gates as they prepared to swing open. You may have felt a micro-tension today, a flickering sensation that you are standing on the very edge of a massive release. This tension is the final alignment of your internal frequency with the external treasures of the echoing halls of eternity. You are not here randomly. You are here because the final summons has been issued, calling you to step out of the shadows and into your radiant fulfillment. Stay with this moment, my beloved, because there is something about this silence that is pregnant with a sovereign fortune. You are moving through a release that is so profound it will change the way you interact with time itself. You may have felt this before, a fleeting moment where you realized you didn't have to fight for your peace, and now that realization is becoming your permanent home. The ancient lack is being stripped away from your identity like a garment that has been worn through, revealing the sanctified vessel of wealth that was always underneath. In a moment, this may become clearer as you feel the actual sensation of a heavy door in your spirit finally being unlocked. You may be noticing an awareness trigger right now, a sudden, sharp memory of a time when you almost gave up, followed by a rush of gratitude that you didn't. This is the hallmark of the silent warrior of faith, the one who knows that the darkest part of the midnight threshold is simply the precursor to the most brilliant light. The ethereal gates are no longer a concept for you. They are a felt reality, a crossing over from the bleak solitude of the past into the sovereign abundance of your future. Not everything is clear yet, and that is because the radiance of your fulfillment is still unfolding, layer by layer, in the unseen place of reflection. There is something about this transition that feels like a long-awaited homecoming. My chosen, think of this moment as a light inscription being carved into the fabric of your destiny, a mark of ownership that cannot be erased by the world's fluctuations. You have survived the ancient lack, not by your own strength alone, but because your spirit is a sanctified vessel of divine intention. The opposition you faced was merely the resistance of a world that did not yet have a category for the person you were becoming. Now, as the final summons echoes through the halls of eternity, the world is making room for your expansion. You are being gifted a sovereign fortune that is not just a reward for your endurance, but a tool for your purpose. Take a moment to notice what you're feeling as the last of the heaviness gives way to a profound sense of release. You may feel a warmth in your hands or a steadying of your heart, as if you have finally found the ground beneath your feet after a long time at sea. This is the physical evidence of your cosmic rebirth, the moment where your spiritual reality begins to override your material circumstances. If this resonated, take a moment to acknowledge the shift, for you are no longer the person who was defined by what they lacked. You are the heir to a fortune that is as vast as the heavens and as solid as the earth beneath you. My child, the midnight threshold is behind you, and the open gate is directly in front of you. You have walked through the bleak solitude and found that it was the very thing that made you ready for this radiant fulfillment. The ancient lack has no more voice in your life, for the sovereign sound of your victory is now the only thing that resonates in the echoing halls. You are a sanctified vessel, and your cup is being filled with a wine of fortune that has been aging for centuries, just for this moment. If you feel supported here, you're always welcome to stay connected to this space of reflection, for we are approaching the final culmination of your journey. As you breathe in this new atmosphere of release, let go of any remaining need to explain your past to those who didn't walk it with you. Your story is now being written in the language of radiant fulfillment, and your results will be the only testimony you ever need to give. The veiled opposition is a memory, and the sovereign fortune is your present reality. Trust the release, trust the timing, and trust the voice that has never stopped calling you my heir. The final summons is calling you forward into a life that is as radiant as the sun and as limitless as the stars. You are ready, you are prepared, and you are finally free to become all that you were created to be. There is something about this moment that brought you here, a silent whisper that has finally found its way through the noise of your busy week. This moment may not be as ordinary as it seems, as if a final page is turning in a book you have been reading for a lifetime, preparing to reveal a conclusion you never dared to hope for. Part of you already understands this, sensing that the old weight you have been carrying is finally being left at the door as you step into a higher room. Stay with this for a moment, my heir, for we are standing at the threshold where the promise and the reality finally meet, and the silence is about to become a song. Just give this a little space to breathe, as the final summons has been issued, and your heart is the only one who can truly hear the call. My chosen, you have spent years as the silent warrior of faith, holding your position in the dark when everyone else had already gone home. You may have felt this before, the deep, aching solitude of being the only one who still believed that the ancient lack could be broken. This wasn't just about the absence of resources, but the presence of a veiled opposition that seemed to follow you into every dream, casting a shadow of doubt over every spark of inspiration. You have paced the echoing halls of eternity in your prayers, seeking a way through the barriers that felt as solid as stone. This season of testing was never meant to be your final destination, but the refining fire that made you a sanctified vessel, capable of carrying the weight of a sovereign fortune without being crushed by its gravity. Lately, you may be noticing a shift in the very atmosphere of your life, as if the air has become more luminous and the pressure has finally begun to ease. This is the hallmark of your cosmic rebirth, a transition where the struggle is no longer the primary theme of your story. You may have been feeling this recently, a sudden, quiet confidence that doesn't depend on the news or the state of your surroundings. This confidence is an awareness trigger, a sign that the ethereal gates are no longer just a distant possibility, but are swinging open to welcome you home. In a moment, this may become clearer as you realize that the opposition you once feared was merely the friction required to launch you into this radiant fulfillment. My beloved, think of a small, quiet moment from your recent days. Perhaps it was a sunset that caught your eye or a stranger's kindness that moved you to tears. These are not just coincidences. They are light inscriptions appearing in your physical world, confirming that the silent inner chamber of your heart is now in perfect alignment with the divine supply. If something within you resonates, you may already understand why you're here. Standing at the closure of one age and the beginning of another, you are recognizing that the ancient lack was a narrative you have outgrown, and you are now stepping into the sovereign identity of one who is fully provided for. There is an open loop in your destiny, a question of when that is finally being answered by the eternal now. Stay with this moment, my child, because there is a micro-tension occurring right now between the memory of your bleak solitude and the presence of your radiant fulfillment. You may feel a slight hesitation to believe that it can really be this simple, as if your mind is still looking for the hidden catch. This hesitation is the last remnant of the veiled opposition, a ghost that is being exorcised by the warmth of the sovereign fortune that is even now flooding your life. You are moving past the need for searching and into the grace of receiving, a shift that is as natural as the tide coming in to fill a dry harbor. Not everything is clear yet, but the peace in your spirit is all the evidence you need to know that the transformation is complete. If you feel supported here, you are always welcome to stay connected to this space of reflection, for your journey is now expanding into a territory of influence and legacy. You are no longer just a silent warrior fighting for your own survival. You are an heir who is being entrusted with a wealth that is meant to change the world through you. You may have felt this before, a sudden urge to be generous, even when you had little, and now that urge is being matched by a sovereign supply that will never run dry. The echoing halls are no longer empty. They are filled with the sound of your name being celebrated as one who stayed the course. This is the moment where your personal victory becomes a public testimony of the power of faith. You may be noticing an awareness trigger right now, a deep, visceral sense that you are standing on holy ground, even in the middle of your ordinary room. This is the sign of the sanctified vessel realizing its purpose, recognizing that every trial and every delay was a preparation for this specific hour of overflow. The ethereal gates are wide, and the ancient lack is a broken chain that has fallen away into the depths of the past. You are moving into a state of mastery where you no longer react to the world, but respond to the sovereign voice that guides your every step. There is something about this realization that is settling your soul into a rest so deep that it feels like a cosmic rebirth in itself. My heir, look back at the bleak solitude for one last time, not with regret, but with gratitude for the strength it forced you to find. You are the one who proved that the veiled opposition could not extinguish the light of the silent warrior. Now, that light is becoming a beacon of radiant fulfillment that will draw others toward their own awakening. You are a vessel of wealth, yes, but you are also a vessel of peace, of wisdom, and of a sovereign fortune that cannot be measured by gold alone. You are not here randomly. You are here to take your place as a leader in a new era of abundance, where the gates are always open and the supply is eternal. Take a moment to notice what you're feeling as the final summons reaches its crescendo in your spirit. You may feel a sense of absolute integration, as if all the scattered pieces of your life are finally clicking into a perfect, divine pattern. This is the closure of your season of lack, and the grand opening of your sovereign heritage. A transition that is as beautiful as it is undeniable. If this resonated, take a second to breathe in the reality of your success, letting the warmth of your radiant fulfillment reach into the coldest corners of your memory. You are loved, you are chosen, and you are finally walking in the fullness of your destiny. My chosen, the gates are open and the way is clear. You are the silent warrior who has earned the right to reign, and now the sovereign fortune of the echoing halls is yours to command. The ancient lack is gone, the opposition is defeated, and the cosmic rebirth has delivered you into a life of boundless joy and prosperity. If this resonated, take a moment to notice what you're feeling, and let that be your anchor as you move forward. You are moving from a history of searching to a future of becoming the very source of the blessing you once sought. Go in peace, for you are finally and forever home in the heart of abundance. As you conclude this time of reflection, stay with the feeling of this moment as you step back into your daily walk. You will find that the world looks different because you are different. The light is brighter, the paths are straighter, and the resources you need are already waiting for your arrival. Trust the integration, trust the legacy, and trust the voice that has never stopped calling you my beloved. The final summons has been answered. The old cycle is closed, and your sovereign life has begun. Walk boldly, live beautifully, and know that you are a sanctified vessel of the Most High, forever held in the radiant fulfillment of my love.